Welcome to the Monopoly Mindset, the podcast where we uncover the strategies to build your real estate portfolio one property at a time.
We're your hosts, Tyler and Tommy, here to share our story of playing real-life Monopoly.
Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned investor, this is your go-to resource for mastering the real estate game.
So grab your board, roll the dice, and let's buy Boardwalk together.
Welcome back to the Monopoly Mindset podcast, episode 42, our first one of 2026. We kind of took an additional month off here, but we're excited to get back and get you guys some podcasts for the rest of the year.
Yeah, we're still here. We don't really have a good excuse for why we skipped. We just got busy around the holidays, and we don't want to take that long off anymore. But yeah, we've had some exciting stuff happen, some good stuff, some bad stuff. So we're back to talk about it.
Yeah, it's been busy. And real estate's been busy too. We had some good things in our portfolio happening, some bad things in our portfolio happening, but with the cold weather that's going on, we kind of wanted to gear this podcast to kick off and just kind of talk about how the storm can mess with your rental properties and how you have to be a little bit more prepared in certain situations and things you don't think about. Checking the weather in different states depending on where you live is actually something that you should probably do.
Yeah, it kind of makes me want to sell all my properties in Pennsylvania, Maryland area and buy. See, I don't even know because like you buy in North Carolina, then it just gets with a hurricane or Tampa or Florida. It's like hurricanes. Northeast, you get hit with freezing pipes and snowstorms. Midwest, you get hit with tornadoes. So I guess it's part of it. But yeah, it's been a interesting week for both of us.
I think it speaks to getting good insurance policies, knowing what's in your insurance policy, paying for something additional in your policy that like you specifically want. Like if you want peace of mind for a hurricane, I don't know what additional hurricane coverage may be, or like maybe you get extra flood insurance, which is more expensive or something. But I think that's a way to at least get some of that peace of mind. Unfortunately, with freezing pipes, as much as they can be a pain in the butt, I do think they're one of the better things because they're almost guaranteed to be covered under insurance. A lot of random things are not covered under insurance, which is not fun to figure out and find out. But at least frozen pipes are covered. However, your property's not going to be livable for several months as you work on getting everything remodeled and getting the water out. And so it's definitely not fun. At least it's just covered by insurance, is my point.
Yeah, so for those of people that don't live in Northeast North America, like Tommy, who's just chilling down in
Hey,
Florida.
we just had a massive freeze here in Florida.
Oh
Okay, it was
yeah,
24 degrees. I had a spigot on the side of my house. It burst. I
blah
lost,
blah blah.
like
Yeah,
3 gallons of
24
water before I,
degrees.
I shut off my hose. I had to cover my plants. My lemon tree might have died. It's been very stressful down here. Okay.
You, I, he puts blankets on his plants in the winter. But
Dude,
anyway, the Northeast
you
got
have to.
hammered.
Like, you
Even
don't, it's not a
yeah,
joke. Like, it'll all die. Like, it can't get to 24 degrees. Like, I know it
well, I
sounds
know
crazy.
even down to North Carolina, we got like in Maryland, anywhere where I live, we got like 12 inches, and that's fine. Like 12 inches of snow, as long as it goes up to like 40, 50 degrees that week and it all melts. But it's been single digits, like 1, 2 degrees for over a week now. So my entire front yard and most people's entire front yard and my driveway is like 12 inches of snow that froze. That's now like 6 inches of ice on top. Even my husky does not want to go out in the snow because like they walk on it, but then their legs fall through, and they're gonna get hurt because like every time they walk on it, they fall through. So it's been a pretty bad storm, I will say.
That's
This
actually
is
exactly why we moved. It was a similar storm. I don't think you guys got the storm because you're a little bit further south. But about 5 or 6 years ago, 5 years ago in Clark Summit, we got a massive storm like that. And we just got Lincoln, and he never saw grass the first like 6 months of his life, I swear. It was just all frozen snow in the backyard. And like he didn't know what to do. And I was like, Sarah, I'm done. I am done dealing with this shit. Because I'm with you. When you just see like frozen snow, like it snow is beautiful, and then when it goes way a couple days later with warm weather, it's nice. But when it freezes over
Yeah.
and stays there for a month, that's brutal.
Yeah, and I just don't see it going away because it's not over 20 degrees like in the foreseeable future. So, yeah, that night it was like one night we started raining I think at like 2 a.m. and by like it rained the entire next day. I literally couldn't sleep that night for some reason, which is not I usually don't have problems falling asleep, but I remember laying in bed and I'm like, damn, the Poconos. So the property in the Poconos, it's hard to explain, but it's like on stilts. It's so like the second, it's only one floor, but there's nothing under the first floor. There's no like basement. It's legit like overhanging over the basement, and there's pipes that go in that area. So long story short, the insulation is not great, and I just was up all night like I don't know, the pipes are going to burst because you had pipes burst. So in my mind, frozen pipes always means that they burst and ruin your property. But yeah, so I had a couple tenants text me, say like, "Hey, what's up? What should I do?" I told them to drip water because I guess that helps if you just leave constant drip. Um, but the Poconos did end up freezing, so there was a guest there that showed up and they had no water. And the property manager was like, I don't think it's frozen pipes because we've had colder days and they didn't freeze. And I was like, well, shit, I kind of hope it's a frozen pipe because it's 1 degree. Like, what else would it be? But that's all it was. So we did give them a free night. So let's say I probably lost like $200 in the nightly fee, and then I paid a plumber, I don't know, $200. So let's just say it was like 500 buck, $500 loss, which could have been worse. And then me and you had the frozen pipes in our rental together, which I actually forgot until right now. um, but same thing, plumber just came out, fixed that. Yeah, not nothing catastrophic on my end, but it's just not a fun time. Like almost every tenant I've talked to in the last week, because they're just concerned. Like it's literally, one -1, -2 degrees. So it's a common problem, especially in old houses.
Yeah, without the insulation of a basement there is got to make it, those pipes are just exposed. I don't know if you
Yeah.
can, and I'm sure they've tried to insulate them, but I don't know if you can add some extra foam or like whatever you can do to maybe help alleviate that issue. Like I'm all about learning every year. Like something you don't know is going to be a problem, I think you have to say, okay. I mean, even if something you know is going to be a problem, you have to look at it for what it is. It's an issue, and how can I fix that issue to the best of my ability so that it doesn't become a problem for next year? Like to your point about freezing
Yeah.
pipes,
Yeah.
you got to do a better job at getting your pipes insulated, and you have to come up with a plan. And then you can't just be, oh, we made it through today and like forget about it. It's like no, like in a couple months, or when things warm up, we have to focus on how can we insulate this a little bit better moving forward so that I don't have this same issue come up next year.
Yeah, and you've been at the property, so like when you're under the house but not in the crawl
Mm-hmm.
space, and it's like it overhangs. It's like that gap. It is like plywood and then insulation like that. The old school stuff where it's like 16 inches wide, goes in between studs. That itchy makes your skin itchy, like regular insulation. But the,
Yes.
yeah, but the pipes are like also just chilling in there. So yeah, maybe I'll do like foam or something. But yeah. So anyway, not too bad on my end, but I also want to just move now and buy real estate in a warmer area, but also no hurricanes at the same time. That's obviously hurricanes way worse than freezing pipes and snow.
Yeah, hurricane can definitely do more damage. I will say I do thoroughly enjoy living in Orlando from a hurricane perspective. Like every time they come, I feel bad for everybody on the coast. Obviously, they have to deal with the hurricanes much worse, but by the time they get to Central Florida, for the most part, they haven't been that bad. Sometimes they'll spawn off like tornadoes. Sometimes you will have flooding. I'm in a pretty good area where we haven't had too many of those issues, but the hurricanes don't seem to damage Central Florida as much. So that's like I joke with Sarah all the time. Like more people are going to move to Orlando strictly so they can live in Florida but not have to deal with the hurricanes. So I do like that aspect, but I'm with you. You also, as much as you hate being cold right now, you hate being super hot. So you kind of want to balance a climate that's not too hot and not too cold. So a little bit
Yeah, yeah.
more,
Florida is not for me. I will say I couldn't do August there, but
yeah.
it sure sounds nice right now. I'll say that.
It has been. I mean, today was one of our colder days. I know every time you guys visit, we seem to get cold weather as well. But like tomorrow, either tomorrow or the next day, it's gonna be like 70 and sunny, which is just it's really cool. I mean, you'll get chillier in the morning and at night, but still to go out midday and feel pretty warm is nice. Sure, my
So
heating
tell
bill.
me,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I want to hear about your kind of week from hell with your property because you had similar situations, but your tenants aren't very happy, and yeah.
Yeah, so want to make one funny comment. I did think that it's silly to cover your trees here in Florida, and I didn't cover one of my trees, and it was like a $200 like palm tree. It's like a baby one that we put out there out front, and one of them is like completely black, and I'm like, is that gonna come back or is it just dead because it froze? So to be determined, but you legit have to cover these things because they're not used to being cold. But yeah, as far as my Sunday on top of being cold, which I don't typically get cold in Florida, was not fun. Just sitting inside. I think Sarah and I did nothing but watch TV with like our heater on, and I kept having to pause like our show because I had this massive frozen pipe issue that started, I think, late Saturday night, and they said like, "Hey, we're not getting water." In some of the faucets, but it wasn't everywhere. And then that, they couldn't get anybody there late Thursday night. But Friday morning, we ended up getting there, and all the faucets in the entire house, I had them dripping, to your point, to try and keep some water flow. So now the faucets are frozen, all the pipes are frozen, none of the water in the house is working. And as a landlord, that's like you're sitting on pins and needles. You're like freaking out, like, oh my God, what is happening in this moment? Is a pipe just going to fall and then burst? And you have this massive water issue. And can you shut the water off in time? How much damage am I going to be dealing with? It's very stressful just sitting with frozen pipes because like for you, your house has at least not as much of a basement, so if you had a pipe, like the water's probably running out of the house per se.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
don't get me wrong,
That's the
you
one like silver lining is that all of the water would be underneath the only living level, so it would only go down out of the house and into the basement, which is unfinished. It's like a crawl space really, so it wouldn't be the
yeah,
end of the
where
world flood
I had
wise. But
I had frozen pipes like all the way up to the second story. So like if once burst up there, and then next thing you know, I have water throughout the whole
yeah,
second
yeah.
level, the basement, the first level. Could have been looking at like a hefty bill. Granted, we had like plumbers there and whatnot that hopefully would have been able to shut off the water if it became a bigger issue. So yeah, Sunday was not a lot of fun, and just getting, I will Casey did a great job. He spent most of his Sunday there, which was very nice to have a property manager that was able to go there and solve a lot of those problems. And he got one plumber there. The plumber was like, "Hey, these are frozen pipes. I don't have a heater. I don't know what to tell you. You guys are on your own." Which it is what it is. Like it's not something he was equipped to handle. So we got a second plumber out there that was a little bit more adequate and had torpedo, what do they call them? Torpedo heaters, where they're basically like gas heaters, and they're just putting them in different places where the pipes are so they can try to warm up. So we had that going on. We had a handyman there that was, moving just other handhold heaters throughout the house and turning on other heat sources throughout the house to try and warm up the pipes wherever he could. And then we had a third person there that was doing something. So Casey had like a whole team there working on trying to warm up the house the best that we possibly could. And they also installed a new electric heater in the basement that we didn't necessarily have before. So part of the problem was we had a garage door that was not like propped open, but it wasn't completely shut. So we were getting cold air constantly into the basement. And you have to look at that and say, hey, we can insulate this basement a little bit better, right? Like if the garage door is broken, we have to replace the basement or replace the garage door, not just let it
So it
be,
went it's a garage door into the basement which is unfinished.
Yeah, so the basement is on like the right side of the house and is completely not finished. Then the garage is like partially finished, but it's on the other. So there's like a staircase coming down the center of the house. Left side is garage, right side is like non-finished basement. But if you go into the garage, you can basically walk straight through to the basement.
Got it.
But the
Okay. And
door is busted. So like it was like all the way down to the ground, but like the top like wouldn't go all the way flat. So it was like I think tilted a little bit like this that was just letting a bunch of cold air in. It was like very tough to keep it insulated. On top of it, there were like a couple of electrical space, not like electric heat, like there's a washer and dryer, like the laundry room, and they didn't have the electrical heat on in that room, so naturally it's going to get cold in there and the pipes are going to start to freeze because you got to keep the electric heat on like a specific temperature. And again, like talking through things that how can I look at this as a learning experience and how can I get better? There was a massive misunderstanding at this house as to who's responsible for what. The kids texted us back that like they're only responsible for heating their bedrooms. They didn't think that they're responsible for the entire house, like to heat the entire house.
so
And
basically you guys told them that they needed to keep these heaters on to to make sure the pipes don't freeze, and they were like, "Well, that's going to make our electric bill go up and we have to pay for that, and that's BS." Essentially.
that pretty much is ultimately what happened. So we got there like, well, what's the issue? And then we see like two of the heating systems weren't on that like probably should have been on, just like in the family rooms and living rooms. The house is awkward because it doesn't have like a centralized heating source. It more or less has a bunch of those. Um, I want to always call them
Space
wall
heaters.
units. No, not space heaters. Um, the units that kind of the split systems, like split.
Mini
Yeah, mini
splits.
splits. Yeah. So the
Okay.
house is basically pretty much every room has a mini split in it, and that's how they keep their heat. But there's two mini splits like in the centralized pieces of the house as well that at least keep them on to like keep it at like 40 degrees or like 50 degrees or something like semi warm. They just had them off because they didn't want to pay for it at all. So that was part of the issue. And then again, like electrical heater in the basement where you have the laundry room, that should probably be on again to like 40 degrees just to keep like some sort of heat on some nights where it's cold. Plus, hey, if it's below 20 degrees, like we're gonna have to turn the heat on that night, so that we don't have a pipe burst. So part of it was just
Do you know
people.
like do you know like how cold was it in their house? Because I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how the pipe freezing works, but I assume that it's like coming in cold because the ground, so like the pipe comes in, let's say you have public water, the pipe is in the ground, let's say the ground gets to like 10 degrees, and I thought that the water was kind of coming in very close to freezing and I don't know, froze. But like it's not like their house was 20 degrees where the water came in and then sat in 20 degrees and froze. Like I would assume it was still like 50, 60, right?
Again, like you can make assumptions, but when they have the heat off in all of like the common areas and they're only heating their bedrooms, it's really like how much heat is coming out of the bedroom and then is that going to supply enough to heat the house? And it's a 4,400 square foot house. And so there's bathrooms at different levels in different spots. And so if they're not being heated, like, because a lot of the bathrooms are all on the back side of the house and the bedrooms are on the other side. So you got to hope that, like that heat can go across. Um, I'm not 100% sure to be honest. Like again, take it as a learning experience. The kids were obviously upset that their heating bill is going to go up. We installed an additional heater into the basement that's never been there before. That's running and also going to keep more heat in the basement. We went ahead and insulated the basement a little bit better. We got the garage door officially shut, covered some holes up or whatever we felt like the cold air was sifting in. So we did like the best we could to solve the issue in like the immediate moment. But moving forward for future years, we're going to figure out where are those drafts coming in and like what can we do to get some sort of steady heat, but like also want to make it semi fair to the kids. Like I'm not saying they have to keep the basement at 75 degrees all year round, but like you also can't just unplug all the heat and not use the heat either. So there's got to be some sort of common ground. There was obviously a misunderstanding, but I I don't want to say like, hey, you should have known you have to heat the entire house. If you didn't know that, it is what it is. I didn't do a good enough job explaining it. It's something that we got to get better at explaining in future years, that the heat's got to be a certain house, certain temperature in the house. And that's the biggest house to have that issue at, because it doesn't have like a centralized heating system. So it makes sense as to why we got here, and just
So
trying
so
to.
did you what did you come up with for like the bill?
We didn't come up with a full plan at the moment because it was more like spur of the moment Sunday, and you could tell that they were not very happy that their bill was going to go up. And like, I'm also curious, like, what is their heating bill in general? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And
Also,
there's,
it's not I think if personally I don't think you should feel the need to split the bill with people. You just have to heat your house to like in the 60s. Like you can't just they in the contract says that they pay for heat just because they don't want to turn it on. That's I don't know. That doesn't
yeah.
mean that you
Again,
should
I'm
cover
I'm
some of the
not
bill.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but then I'm also just trying to take ownership into like if the garage door is not shut and you got air coming straight in, like
Yeah.
I'm almost
Yeah.
negligent at that point for letting that much cold air in. So I we basically agreed that like whatever their bill was maybe the month prior, which is awkward because like where it lines up. But we're gonna look at something from where their bill was the month prior to like how much did it jump up since we added the additional heat source, and either split that or cover that. I think is what we're leaning towards. Where I think you said you were out $400 or $500. I'm anticipating probably anywhere from $200 to $400 with the increased like addition of the heat. So that's at least where we came to an agreement here, but it's something that we need to be more adamant about getting the garage and basement a little bit better insulated, and like coming up with a better heat source that can, kick on like almost automatically. Like, hey, this is something you leave on. This switch stays on. If it gets below 25 or 40 degrees, like it kicks on and tries to keep the basement at 50 degrees like year round or something like that.
Yeah, you know what's funny is again, me and you had frozen pipes at our place and it's like
Yeah, we didn't even
sometimes
talk about that.
yeah, sometimes college kids like don't tell you anything's wrong unless you're like talking to them about something else. So I called one of the tenants there and the pipe was frozen and I was just having like look at stuff in the basement. And I was like, but at the same time, so they have oil that we pay for that heats half of the house and the other half is electric. And every couple weeks I'm like, yo, send me a picture of your oil tank gauge. Um, so that we can get it refilled because last year they never told us until it just stopped working. It was completely empty, which can damage the system. It was like this whole thing. But so I'm trying to like stay on top of it and get it filled when there's like a quarter left. So, but it wasn't going down at all. It's like it's always just full, full, full. And I'm like, well, dude, last year they used a whole tank in like 2 months. So when I'm talking to this kid about the frozen pipe, I'm like, yo, what's up with the oil gauge? He's like, oh, that heater doesn't work at all. Like the whole heat system just doesn't work. I was like, dude, that's like half the house. He's like, oh yeah, it's like 55 degrees in there. I'm like, all right, like you weren't gonna tell us that? He's like, nah, our bedrooms are good enough. So it's like honestly very similar situation. Turns out the plumber that you had go out and do the frozen pipe literally found a switch that just turned the oil heater off, like in the wall. That says like I don't even know where that picture came from, but it's like written on the wall in Sharpie that says like don't turn this off. It's the oil heat. So it wasn't
Which
broken. They just like flipped the switch, but yeah, it's like you gotta
he,
like almost pry and check up to make sure that they're not letting things break and stay broken and not reach out to you because sometimes they just deal with it and don't tell you.
100%. I had that same issue a couple years ago, and we did have a pipe freeze. A kid was like, "Oh, I'm in the attic. It doesn't matter what I do. I'm going to shut my heat off," and he left. Well, we had baseboard heat that's heated by hot water that also went into, guess what? The attic. And so when he shut off his baseboard heat in the attic, it froze up there, and we had a pipe burst in the attic that went to the second floor, went to the basement, and it was a lot of money, and the house was out of commission for several months as we were trying to get the repairs done as quickly as possible. So, after learning from that experience, now typically every winter I text everybody, hey, please keep your thermostats at X temperature. We don't want any pipes freezing. I this year only told kids to run water, and I like thinking back, I forgot to include that in my like text message of cold weather. Hey, please keep your thermostats at X temperature. Maybe that would have prevented this pipe freezing at that time, and maybe it would have started a different conversation with this group of kids that didn't know they were responsible for heating the entire house. But like to your point, it seems to be something that was pretty common theme this year, and maybe something we need to add an extra like addendum page in our leases moving forward so people can see it and be aware of it. Like I know it's in the lease, but I'm thinking of like an additional addendum like, hey, you are responsible to keep dehumidifiers running. You cannot unplug them. You are responsible for keeping, the
Yeah,
heaters
or
on
honestly, like
over 50 degrees.
minimum temperature is not like a bad idea. I mean, just to prevent freezing pipes. It's like you don't need them to be
Yeah, it's not like I
hot
need the house to be
75.
95 degrees. Yeah, you don't need to hot box the house. So you just got to like keep it a little bit over freezing. Like, come on, we're talking about 40 something degrees here.
So yeah. But I guess yeah, and a couple $100, some hassle, some can't sleep nights, but it is what it
But
is.
it's
Honestly, this
funny, man,
storm.
like what it's funny what one contractor will do in certain scenarios and not in another. So the contractor that solved our problem that went there, warmed up the pipe with a little space heater, and then he's like, "Yo, I don't do HVAC. Like I really don't mess with these oil systems because they upgraded them. They got too confusing." And I'm like, "All right, well, don't touch it then. I don't want you touching something that you don't know how to mess with." And he's like, all right, well, now I'm kind of tempted. Like, I kind of want to mess around with it. I'm like, all right, well, you do what you want to do, but like, don't screw it up. Like, if you can't get it to work, like, it doesn't work. And he's like, I think it's just off. Like, is it possible that it's just off? Because, like, it doesn't even look like it's on. Like, maybe like a breaker flipped or something. So he's trying to find the breaker box. And this was an older house that I think got new electrical work done. So they went to where the old breaker box was. He's like, nothing works here. This isn't it. So I'm like, check the garage. For whatever reason, I remembered it was in the garage at that house. He gets to the garage. He flipped the breaker on, like some breaker was off, like a certain light or something. And so then he goes to walk into the basement. It might have been like one of the basement lights or something. So he goes to walk into the basement and flip it like it's dark. You almost just put your hand in a certain spot. He's like, dude, I accidentally found this switch that says oil and please do not turn off. And I saw it was off. I turned it on. And next thing you know, I went down, the boiler fired right up and they had heat pretty much instantly. So it was very funny how his story happened. But then in talking with him, he was one of the guys that was first at one of the other properties where he's like, hey, I don't have enough space heaters to, this is a massive problem. Like it's a way, because it was a very big house and like it was more than just one pipe that was frozen. He's like, I am not the guy for this project. And he just left. So it's funny. Like sometimes people go above and beyond, sometimes they don't. And like you have to have a Rolodex of a lot of contractors, especially in emergency situations. Like I'm sure not a lot of people want to be at our house all day on Sunday trying to warm up those pipes and make sure my house didn't freeze. So I have to give credit where it's due and be very thankful about the group that went out there and solved that problem for me.
Yeah, especially the plumber that we had at Hillcrest was like there in like 2 hours on Saturday. So,
Yeah, which is amazing. Like we texted him to
and
your
it was
point on a
like,
Saturday.
yeah, and it was like $50, I think,
Because he,
which
he
is,
didn't really do he didn't do much. So he just yeah.
but yeah. So, I mean, I like the way that you're going about it. Like proact, being proactive is good. I didn't text any of my tenants and about the water dripping. If some of them texted me, and asked about it, and I told them, but I think I definitely should have sent out like a mass text. But yeah,
It's also tough for me being in Florida. Like I know you guys joke and say it's cold, but I'm like, oh, like how cold is it? Are they just bitching or is it like actually really cold
no,
up
like
there? And I'm
this
like,
is
oh
that's
no.
no, this is like actually I think a really cold like storm. It's definitely the coldest that I've seen since I moved to Maryland like 7 years ago. So hopefully this doesn't happen every year. I think this is like an anomaly, and it usually isn't single digits in northern or PA, Maryland for like days and days and days at a time. So Hopefully,
That's
fingers
exactly
crossed,
what
it's
I
an anomaly.
That's exactly what I said to the kids too. I said, guys, we've owned this house for 4 years. We've never had this issue before. Like, I'm not saying you got to keep the heat on forever and really jack up your bill, but let's just while we're in this cold front, work with us, please, and like keep the heat on so the pipes don't burst, and we'll try to help them out for this month coming up, and like come up with a plan moving forward.
Yeah. So again, I guess anywhere you go, you're gonna have natural events that can damage your property or cause headaches, and I think that's kind of just part of real estate. So it is what it is, and yeah, I don't think any areas are kind of safe from everything.
Yeah, you're always going to have that risk, and that is like a huge difference. I'm not going to lie that I 100% was like, wow, if I just sold all my real estate and it was just in the S&P 500, I would just be like sitting here not worrying about anything. Like, yeah, that thought crosses my mind every once in a while. But then I listen to the Wealth Juice pod and I'm like, damn, Ryan and Corey bought a duplex, made 4 times their money in 3 years, and now are selling it. Where if you put your money into the S&P 500, you're waiting 7 years for it to double, right? Isn't it 7 years in the S&P for it to double? So
Yeah, that's a
they
good rule of thumb.
they cut it in half by getting a good deal. So again,
And they
it's not every
4x.
scenario
Yeah.
is apples to apples, but that's a pretty crazy scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have that thought too. I think one of these days we're gonna have my brother on who doesn't own
He's
real
itching to
estate,
get
but
onto the podcast to yell at us and call us stupid because he's
no, but
somebody
like
that
I think we just to go off on a little tangent, we preach about how great real estate is, but I'm definitely jealous in a sense of him because he does what he wants on his weekends. Like he invests money still and he invests in the market and still getting good returns, but he doesn't have to think about this stuff all day every day like me and you do. But I mean we enjoy it and that's like I think you kind of have to. So
yeah, I think it's fun. I mean, again, ultimately, it just comes to what level of risk are you comfortable with, and then also, can you have fun with it? Is it something that you enjoy? Like, I think you said you've watched every show on HGTV. Like, obviously, we
every episode of
enjoy
Fixer Upper, just
Fixer
Fixer
Upper.
Upper.
Okay,
I'm a big Chip and Joanna fan.
yeah, and Danielle's a big Joanna fan as well. But we do just we enjoy this, so it's a lot of fun. Like I have fun making properties look better, and flipping them, revamping them. Like I have fun with like the loan processes and pulling money out of properties. Like I like knowing that I own houses. I like knowing that I'm building my cash flow up each month. Like there's pluses and minuses to everything. Like, and ultimately all we want is people to be more financially literate, right? That's I think the biggest goal that we have is to try and show people you can save money anyway, but you just have to save money because if you don't, you're losing a lot of money just letting it sit in a savings account. Or if you're just stacking up debt on top of not saving, like it's not looking good.
Yeah, so all right, I think that wraps us up for this storm special of our first episode back in a while. So, but we'll be back from here on out.
All right. Thanks everybody and stay warm.
Yep. See you later.